the chair of the City Council's Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology. Joined here today by my colleagues, Councillor Erin Murphy at large and Councillor Ed Flynn, District 2, and also our Council President. This public hearing is being recorded. It's being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. We'll be taking public testimony at the end of the hearing, so if you're here with us in the chamber, you can sign up in the sheet near the chamber entrance. If you're interested in testifying virtually, you can email ron.cobb@boston.gov for the link. That's ron.cobb@boston.gov, and we'll get you the link to testify. You can also email the committee if you're watching this after the fact and you want to provide input. You can email us at ccc.csit@boston.gov. That's the committee email address. And for all testimony, we'll ask everybody to just state their name and neighborhood or affiliation and try to keep comments to a couple of minutes. Today's hearing is on a series of dockets. I'm going to read into the record now. Docket 0922, message and order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Public Schools for FY23 in the amount of $1,510,820 to cover the FY23 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and Transdev and its bus drivers on the city's transportation contract with the vendor Transdev. The terms of the contracts are July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. The major provisions of the contracts include base wage increases of 2% in the second and third year of the contract, increases to the report rate, and other reforms. Then docket 0923, message and order for your approval in order to reduce the FY23 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining for $1,510,820 to provide funding for the Boston Public Schools for the FY23 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Transdev and its bus drivers on the city's transportation contract with the vendor Transdev. Then docket 0924, message and order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Public Schools for FY23 in the amount of $13,767 to cover the FY23 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between City of Boston and the Teamsters Local 25. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2%, 1.5%, and 2% to be given in October of each fiscal year of the contract terms. And finally, docket 0925, message and order for your approval in order to reduce the FY23 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $13,767 to provide funding for the Boston Public Schools for the FY23 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and Teamsters Local 25. So those are the dockets that we'll be discussing today. As folks may have heard, whenever there's collective bargaining agreements reached that impact the budget, there are always two dockets. One is about taking the money out of the reserve that where we've held money for these contracts to be resolved, and the other is about actually applying them to the relevant department so that we can fund the contract. And we'll be joined here today by Mr. James Williamson, who's the budget director for the city, also by Deliver and Stanislaw, the director of transportation for Boston Public Schools, by Jeremiah Hassan, director of labor relations for the Boston Public Schools, and then Jacqueline Hayes, the assistant director of contract operations and fleet for BPS's Department of Transportation as well. And I believe we'll also be joined in a bit by Mr. Lou Mandarini, who's a senior advisor to the mayor. But we will start with the BPS dockets, and I will begin by kicking it off to Mr. Jim Williamson. Jim, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Councilor Murphy and Council President Flynn, and for inviting us here today. My name is Jim Williamson. I'm the budget director here at the City of Boston. I'm here to offer testimony for the dockets before you and the appropriations they reflect. And to the best of my ability, we will answer any questions related to that and provide additional information if required. As noted, dockets 0922 and 0923 are appropriation transfer orders that cover the FY23 costs of collective bargaining agreements between the city and Transdev, the school department's bus operator and its bus drivers, for a total of $1,510,820. In dockets 0924 and 0925 are appropriation transfer orders that cover the FY23 costs for the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and Teamsters Local 25 Union for $13,767. These dockets reduce the central collective bargaining reserve in the current fiscal year and provide funding to support the costs of the Boston Public Schools and the property management departmental budgets. As you remember, the FY23 budget passed by the City Council included $75.4 million in aggregate to cover the costs associated with outstanding collective bargaining contracts, including the bus drivers and the Teamsters. In FY23, there are 3 supplemental collective bargaining transfer orders on the balance will continue to be held in reserve for future appropriation transfers. With the approval of these supplemental appropriation transfers, the remaining balance on the FY23 collective bargaining reserve will be $73.8 million. The agreements before you today cover a 3-year term. The bus drivers runs from July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2024, and the Teamsters contract goes from July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2023. The bus driver wages include increases of 2% and 2% at the last 2 years of the contract, and the Teamsters contract allow for wage increases in October of 2%, 1.5%, and 2% during the 3 years of the contract. In terms of outstanding contracts, we've brought 9 settled contracts to City Council, and there is 32 out of 41 contracts that are yet to be settled and brought before Council. With that, I can turn it over to BPS to talk about the bus drivers agreement.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Delivern Stanislaus. I'm the Director of Transportation for Boston Public Schools. I'm here today joined with me, Jacqueline Hayes, who's our Assistant Director of Contract Compliance and Fleet for the Transportation Department, and Director of Labor, Jeremiah Hassan. I'm here today to comment on the bus driver contract ratification that occurred in June of 2022. Boston Yellow School bus drivers are employees of Transdev, a Boston Public School vendor. The Boston Public School bus drivers, represented by USW Local 8751, contract expired on June 30th, 2021. The contract was ratified in June of 2022. Coming out of that contract negotiations, we were able to get 6 major operational reforms to improve the transportation operations for students in the city of Boston. The buckets where we were able to see major operational reforms are leaves, absenteeism and tardiness, probationary period for our bus drivers. We were able to eliminate retroactive use of PTO time, reduce barriers for drivers to obtain CDL licenses to make sure that we can staff up for school startup due to the national driver shortage that we're not only seeing here in the city of Boston, but across the country with other school districts. And also making it mandatory for our drivers to show up to do dry runs and bid for the school startup to make sure that they're present for students. Also coming out of that contract negotiations, we knew that we had to be competitive with drivers' salary. Our drivers got a base wage increase, COVID market adjustment, of $1.35, moving their salary from $26 and change to $28, and a year-over-year, 2022 and 2023, 2% increase year-over-year. Our charter rates were increased as well. COVID base wage increase to $18 an hour, moving up from $16 and change. Charter rate increases year over year, 2% in 2022 and 2% in 2023. Our drivers' guaranteed minimum was moved from 25 hours per week to 31 hours per week. That way, our standby drivers we have additional drivers on staff available to drive. And if drivers show up and there's no work, they're guaranteed the 31 hours is guaranteed for that week. Retirement and severance pay, annual eligible drivers increased from 15 to 25. So currently in this contract that was ratified, we allowed 25 drivers to retire with full benefits instead of the cap 15. That was at 15. 10 drivers per year who become deceased on the job, their estate or their families, if otherwise eligible, will receive that same benefit. The driver's retirement benefit increased from $1,000 to $1,100 per year of service. PTO, it became PTO if a driver deceased on the job, estate was paid out any unused personal days. Sick and accidents insurance weekly benefit pay increased by $25 per year for each year of the contract. These are the things that we got in exchange for the reforms that we got at contract negotiations. Thank you.
Great. Delaware, does anyone else on the team want to speak at all to it before we go to questions? Well, Jay, can you pass those out to my colleagues? I just wanted to make sure everyone had a copy of the summary sheet that you guys had sent over. So I wanted to ask a question first, and then I'll go to colleagues, which is just if you could speak a little bit. So two things, and one might be a question for Jim, and one might be a question for you, Del. The one is just if you can sort of explain, maybe Jim, for the record, obviously there's something a bit unusual about the city baking in changes to a third-party contract, and so maybe just speaking to like why we do that in this instance when normally we would just contract with an outside provider and they would be needing to provide whatever they were for the cost that was baked in. So just so folks can understand, because this is obviously an unusual situation where the drivers are third party, they don't work for the city. So I wondered if you could speak to that a little bit. And then my question next, just Del, so you have it in your mind, is just if you could tell us a little bit about whether you've seen any performance improvements related to these reforms yet, or if you expect those to hit later in the process.
So yeah, this is a little bit different than most collective bargaining agreements, where the actual collective bargaining agreement is between a third-party vendor and the union that they represent. But the city, through the Boston Public School District, is involved in negotiating the collective bargaining since it's such a the largest cost driver of the contract. They wanted to be party of that, the cost, because it'll ultimately be absorbed by the school department budget.
Great, thanks. Del? Oh, sorry, if you just wait a second, Ron's got to press the button. And I'll just note that we've been joined by my colleague, Councillor Julia Mejia, at large.
Just wanted to jump in and add on to what Jim just shared. So the initial contract is between Transdev and the bus drivers union, but there's the letters of agreement A and B, where the city letters of agreement A and B commit the city and the district to include the following in the bid specifications for yellow bus service for any future vendor. So outside of the contract, the city has an agreement with the letter, which is letter of agreement A and B with the drivers union, that give hiring preferences to members of Local 8751, recognizing the USW 8751 as the bargaining representative for the drivers, and agreed to be bound by the terms of the contract, the drivers union contract, so that there's this weird, yes, there's a contract with the vendor, but there's also side letters of agreement A and B that the city signs, acknowledging the union, et cetera.
Great, thank you. No, and that's helpful. I just want people who watch at home and are like, wait, how is this piece working, to understand that it's kind of an unusual structure here. Isn't it, my understanding, are we still on one-year extensions of the Transdev contract, or have we?
That's a good question. We're in the final one-year extension of the contract, and on September 9th, we put an IFB out to bid.
On September 9th, you put it out?
Yes.
Okay. And is that for a 3-year term, or what's the?
It's for a 5-year term.
Oh, 5-year term, okay. So then how should we think about the places here where there's kind of like increases that are guaranteed, like on July 1st, 2023, will the contract still be in term, the current one?
For the drivers' union?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a great question. So as part of the side letter of agreement A and B with the city, there's the terms in that side letter that states that no matter who the contractor is, the city is agreeing that the drivers' union contract is acknowledged by any company. If the company is not Transdev and there's a new company that comes in, that company takes on that contract, and the drivers automatically become employees of that company.
Got it. And is that sort of written into the contract that we put out on September 9th, or is it just guaranteed by our side letter?
It's guaranteed by our side letter. I know that it's guaranteed by our side letter, but
But are we also telling any company that bids on the contract that this is the expectation? Yeah, if you can go to Jackie. Sorry, Ron.
Side letter A and B is between the city and the district and the drivers union itself. The employer is not a party to that agreement, and the side letter obligates the city and district to include in the bid specification the requirement. So any vendor who applies for the contract is on notice that they will be required to recognize this union with this CBA, with these employees, these drivers. So regardless of who the vendor may be, starting in July 1st of 2023, it will be the same bus drivers with the same seniority, largely the same working conditions, because it will be the exact same CBA agreement, and it will be the same union leadership in place. So none of that will change regardless of what a vendor happens to be sitting in that seat.
Got it. Thank you, Jackie. I have some more, but I want to go down to colleagues, so I'll go first to my colleague, Councillor Erin Murphy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for those questions. They were also what I was going to ask, but no, it was good. To go a little bit deeper on that, and first, thank you for being here, and Del, thank you for always answering my phone call. I know lots of calls come into our office about transportation issues, especially at the beginning of the year, and I know that everyone involved worked really hard this summer, especially coming out of COVID, and there's lots of transportation woes in BPS, and you made this contract stronger, and I think this is going to help make sure that there isn't such a driver shortage and that our kids are able to get picked up more on a routine basis. How much more did these changes to the contract cost? Do we have like a number of how much more BPS is spending now on our bus transportation and what the overall number is now? If you have that, that would be helpful.
I don't have final budget numbers at this point during the year. In October, we kind of start the budget and stuff. But I know over the next 3 years, the estimated increase is going to be to the tune of $11.1 million.
On top of what we already spend for transportation and BPS.
Correct.
Correct. So it's increasing 11.2 million.
11.1 million.
11.1 million. And do we think that that was enough? I mean, I know we already have lots of conversations about BPS spending too much, but do we think we added enough things to the contract to have a good feeling that we would be able to hire and keep drivers more effectively? Have we seen that in the first few weeks of school opening?
Yep. So the first time ever, we were able to hire 87 drivers into the operation. So the team, and it's a split between drivers with CDLs and first full certification. We hired 32 of those drivers and 55 CDL trainees, where the district paid for these individuals to go through CDL training. And that has been great for individuals of the community, recruiting individuals who are interested in driving, and we're able, before the start of school, to recruit 55 individuals, and that recruitment is going to be ongoing. Like, we're opening up another class really soon to get folks in the community to come in. What we've seen on the ground, it's been positive, right? And a lot of folks are interested in coming on. I think when we look at our drivers' wages and benefits, and the team did some benchmarking during contract negotiations, we saw that our drivers were paid, or with the driver's pay and the benefit package, and looking at COVID adjustments due to the national shortage, it was more appetizing for drivers. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the panel for being here today. Thank you for the important work that you're doing. So I'm just looking at the compensation increase percentage. So 2020 would be 2%, 2021 would be 1.5%, 2022 would be 2%.
Councilor Flynn, I think that the way this packet came together, I think those are the numbers for the Teamsters contract and the property management department, the other one that we're getting to.
Okay.
Instead of, I think if you go to the back of this
I see.
second page, the double-sided thing that I got passed out about BPS, that's got the increases for the drivers.
Okay, I see.
Sorry, sorry about that confusion.
So the percentage, could you just go over what the percentage increase would be? Is it 2% and 2%?
Yep, so effective 7/1/2022, there was a COVID-19 market adjustment increase of $1.35, and then July 2022 and July 2023, it's 2% year-over-year increase.
Okay. Was that the best we could do in terms of getting these bus drivers who in my opinion don't make all that much money to support a family to live in the city? It's very difficult to live in the city on a salary like that, but is that the best we could do as a city? I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying, is that the best we could do? 2% and 2%.
Yeah, so, Councilor, I'll take that question, and thank you for having us here. So looking at the contract, we did a lot of work to assess how our rates were compared to those of other districts around the state, how our contract compared to other drivers in what may not be similar industries, but competing industries such as FedEx and Amazon. And we believe this adjustment puts us in a very competitive place to be able to recruit and retain drivers, while also making sure that there's some level of fiscal oversight to make sure that we have enough money to look at our other unions and also, increase wages across the board for other units. So, it's a difficult question to answer whether it's the best we could do, but we think it's a very competitive deal. We think it's a very fair deal. We think it puts us in a pretty solid place to recruit new drivers, but also to retain our current drivers and keep them satisfied with the work. So in addition to the wage increases that Delavan spoke to, there are some other benefits that we added into the contract to make the overall benefits package rather appealing and one that we think is fair.
What is the average salary for a full-time bus driver?
That's a good question. Counselor, can I get back to you on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that question is, I don't know if it's 30, I'm just thinking out loud, I guess. I should know it. I should know the answer, but if they're making, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000.
No, it's definitely more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can get the average to you.
Okay, no, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm just thinking out loud about how city workers that work hard, they're very professional, they're providing a tremendous service to our students, many of them students with disabilities. Many of these bus drivers are communities of color, they're immigrants, but I'm just thinking, how are they affording, how are they able to stay in the city, paying rent or paying a mortgage on whatever the salary is? But do we track their housing situation as well as a city to make sure that our bus drivers also have access to housing?
So our bus drivers are employees of Transdev, so we don't track that information, unfortunately.
Okay. But we track, do we track what happens in their life to these bus drivers? I know many of them live in Mattapan, many of them live in Hyde Park, many of them live in Dorchester and East Boston. But do we track, not that we want to track them for the sake of tracking them, but do we follow up on making sure that they have available services that they might need to stay in the city to support their family, and including maybe food access? I don't know. I just want to make sure we're doing everything as a city for our bus drivers, because they play a critical role in the daily operation of city services, city government, and more importantly, in transporting our children to their school in a safe manner.
I guess to answer your question, I'm not aware of any current tracking mechanism for these employees to see how they're living their daily lives in the city or outside the city. This is a group that, as Del mentioned, they are employees of Transdev, so unlike some of our other units, they don't have the residency requirement in place.
Yeah.
So, I know that while we do have many Boston residents, they're not all city residents, so we don't have a current mechanism in place to track their daily lives and whether or not they're affording kind of services in the city. But, we are in consistent communication with the union, hearing about their concerns and the concerns of their membership. So would be open to having those discussions if that is an issue that the union would like to highlight. Would I guess just request that it go through Transdev as their employer, but we would happily be involved in those types of conversations.
And let me ask, why, generally speaking, why are we contracting this out? Why aren't these bus drivers full-time City of Boston employees? I'm not questioning anything about this deal. I'm just asking, why isn't it more beneficial to the City of Boston to have these bus drivers full-time city employees where they receive everything, every benefit as a city employee, such as what we're receiving right here? Probably the best retirement in the country, practically, the best medical care as well. Why does it not make sense to have them as city employees?
I think that's a good question, Counselor. And I think this is something that, our team, since I've been in transportation, we started exploring. However, I don't think that we're there yet. to transition such a large operation that's been in place with contracts over the past, I think, 40 plus years with vendors. We're not at a space right now to transition that full operations internally to the city.
Okay. And my last question, I noticed
Counselor, we had could I add a little more to that?
Sure.
The bus drivers are the most critical piece of the operation and how our students get to and from school every day. But we contract out, not only, the bus drivers are a piece of what is contracted out. We also contract out our maintenance and operations of our bus yards. There's a significant amount of technology involved in operating the bus yards. So we contract out that dispatch work and the number of trips and the number of buses, also of our maintenance work. So when we contract out the work, we're actually contracting out a much larger scope of work than the bus drivers alone, although they are the most critical piece.
Okay. And my final question is, tell me the logistics of how it works for a bus driver when they're picking up a student with special needs, a student with disabilities, with the access to that might be in a wheelchair. How is the logistics of that? How does that work? And is the bus driver or the van driver, are they assisted by an assistant that is able to help the student? And then when they pull into the school, is there someone that assists the student with disabilities, but also on the front end, what support are we giving the bus driver to help that student access the first leg of the ride?
In cases where there are bus monitors assigned to buses and or nurses, either the bus monitor or nurses support the drivers in getting wheelchair students on and off buses. And if there's no monitor required student, if a student is in a wheelchair and does not require a monitor, the driver supports getting the wheelchairs on and off the bus. When the driver arrives at school staff are always staffed to support drivers getting our students with disability off buses. School staff would jump in and support bus drivers.
And one final question, I guess. Do we do an inventory of the buses before the start of the school year to make sure the seat belts are operational, the seat belts are working, and the buses are safe from a mechanical point of view, but also I'm really concerned about the seat belts. And do our students do they put the seat belt on when they're on the bus?
Yep, I can jump in on checks. So Jackie, our assistant director here, is responsible for working with our contractor on this. There's a full checklist, and Jackie does almost weekly, sometimes daily yard visits where the contractor have to give updates on individual bus safety, checking for seat belts, our radios, and our GPS tracking system is working while buses are down during the summertime. So there's a full check, and then the transportation leadership then does like a yard walkthrough with like management staff, verifying that like with the maintenance team, verifying like these checks have happened, and Jackie usually audit this work to make sure that those safety checks happen before start of school.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Flynn. Councillor Mejia?
Hi, yes. Good morning.
Hi,
Thank you for
Councillor.
being here. Yeah, good. Okay. I have a lot of questions, and I know this is about the contract and all that good stuff. But while I have the mic, this also impacts the return on investment when we're talking about fees and we're talking about contracts. I'm very curious about what are we doing on the BPS front, transportation, to ensure that students get to and from where they need to be in a timely fashion. We've received tons of emails and phone calls from parents still, even with all of the efforts that have been made to date, of parents still waiting, some who have missed work because of this. And at some point, we need to take some accountability around that. These are parents who are already struggling financially, and then having to take the day off because they have to either take their child to school or leave work early to pick them up. I mean, these are all things that there needs to be some consequence, right? So I'm just curious, as you continue to go through these processes, what is being done to ensure that the services are being rendered?
Yep. I am going to answer that question. That's a great question, and it's going to pull in a question that Councillor Bach asked as well. So there, after the contract ratification, there were reforms that we got in the contract to make sure that we're holding drivers accountable on the attendance side and showing up for students. And that was implemented in the summer of this year, and we've seen improvement. However, we're not where we need to be or where we want to be, and this is ongoing work with the drivers union and Transdev. Another bucket is the national driver shortage is an issue. Our team had to pivot and in collaboration with Transdev open up like a CDL training program to get individuals off the street to train to get CDL license. And we've been able to recruit 55 individuals so far, and recruitment is ongoing, and we have another class coming online very soon. We're able to also recruit 32 drivers with their CDL license, and is on the road. These are ongoing efforts. However, we still have students, right? We're still missing the mark, right? We've significantly improved from where we were last year. Last year, we had 2% of our trips dropping every day. Right now, we have 0.07 of our trips dropping on certain days. Like today's the day that we were fully covered. There were days last week where we were fully covered across the operations, but there are days when there are attendance issues. We also do have, I want to name that we do have monitor issues as well. We just reached a tentative agreement on that contract, which is for the bus monitors, and I think that we're going to be in a good place for recruiting. So we have some of our special education students who are being missed due to monitor coverage as well.
All right, so I'm still getting emails from parents today that have missed the mark, so I'm not sure where if you just stated that today was a good day, I'm not sure if it was a good day for everybody.
Yeah, so just to name, so we were fully covered on the driver's end, but we were not fully covered on the monitor's end.
Right.
So we would have like some of our special education students who did not have a monitor on a bus to get to school.
Right. So this is a problem, right? And it's a problem that has been persistent, to say the least. And so I'm happy to see that there has been some progress, but I'm very disappointed that, we're still having the same conversation, if you will, right? So I think that as we continue to move forward in these discussions, it's going to be really important. My question is always what is our return on investment, right? So there has to be a level of accountability and commitment from folks to understand that we need to make sure that we get our kids to and from school, and that there is a level of accountability on our end if parents are financially burdened as a result of this negligence, right, if you will. So I'm just curious about how you're reconciling with that. I mean, I have parents who have literally have had to ask for a letter from the department to state that the reason why they had to miss work was because of the bus transportation situation, but apparently that is not something that we can get from BPS. So then what happens to that parent?
So in terms of like buses showing up to parents' houses, We use our zonar location system to verify if buses are not showing up or if buses are showing up to homes, and follow up with parents individually on like what information that we can provide in collaboration with like our labor department or legal department, what letters we can provide for parents after verifying if buses showed up or not. If you have any like one-off issues where parents have reached out to you, if you can send that information to me, that would be great. Additionally, on the compensation pieces, if there are parents who are utilizing Ubers, etc., our special education department, my department, parents, once they send that information in, our business services department set them up as vendors and make sure that they're reimbursed for those rides.
Okay, that's good to know. I don't think many parents know that that is an option. And I also am a firm believer that once it starts hitting our pocket, then we start paying more attention. So I think that level of accountability is good. And it's not a good practice, I'm going to assume, in terms of fiscal responsibility, but at the very least, our parents can feel like that they're able to at least get to where they need to be. And I don't know how comfortable I would feel sending my 12-year-old in an Uber by herself if I have to be at work or the bus didn't show up. So I'm not sure that's not a sustainable plan. But I think that as we continue to have these conversations, we have to really think, like, how are we going to grapple with this? Because otherwise we're going to come back here and Councillor Bach will be at the chair, we'll be asking the same conversations, and we're going to be expecting different results. And so I think that at some point, you know, from what I'm hearing, people are just really frustrated, and I share that frustration because I know how challenging it could be to be a single parent and having to juggle getting your kids to and from school. And, you know, these are our tax dollars, right? So people are paying for a service that they believe should be rendered, and when it's not, then we are the ones that people look at and yell at on Twitter about all of the things that we haven't done. And so I just want to like share that frustration so that you can understand where we're coming from.
I completely understand, and also as a single parent myself, who has to figure out how my son gets to and from school, I share in those parents' frustration. I know that like our transportation team shares in that as well, and that's the reason why like our team is working on pulling any lever that we can pull to ensure that all of our students are getting to school. And happy and open to collaborating and continue to have these conversations and discuss like any ways that folks can support.
Thank you. Councillor Bach, I don't have any more questions. I just have, just want to thank you. I know it's not easy to be in that seat. And so we really do appreciate you all coming in and helping us. I do have some folks that I am going to connect with you directly on. Annie and I have been exchanging a few emails, but I think having your direct phone number would be really helpful. So that way I can navigate some of these concerns that I'm dealing with right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mejia. Yeah, and just as a follow-up on that, Del, I'm wondering about what kind of data the department might be able to share with the council about kind of, you know, how many times we have, like, can we actually track the ways in which the changes in this contract have improved our kind of no-show performance on the driver's side? Do we have is there a distinction in your data between when a bus doesn't come because of a bus monitor shortage versus a driver shortage? And is that something, I think that as Councillor Mejia is reflecting, I think all councillors are still fielding plenty of like family questions and concerns about this. And so it would be helpful to understand the pieces of the puzzle that the contract took care of and then the pieces that we're still working on.
Most definitely. We can follow up with those additional data pieces.
Great. And then when you mentioned the 87 new drivers hired, were those all with CDLs, or did that include the group of people who are going to train for the CDL?
Yeah. So 32 of those individuals were hired with CDLs, and 55 of them were CDL trainees. As of last last week, we had 34 drivers that were still in CDL training. So 5 of them passed the CDL classes on Saturday, so that brought us down to 29. 4 of them is going through licensure, going to get their license this week, and during the week this week, and 8 of them is scheduled to do their licensing exam on Saturday again. So after they pass their licensing exam, those drivers usually do a couple iterations of dry runs on routes that they would like to pick. So they do a couple iterations of dry runs with our trainers and stuff like that before they hit the road. So the 5 drivers that went through and got their licenses on Saturday has been dry running their routes and will be on the road starting tomorrow.
Got it. And so of the 55 that then dropped to 32, do we have a sense of why those people left?
Oh, they didn't leave. They all passed the exam and is now driving.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they didn't
great.
leave. Sorry.
Excellent. Okay,
Yep.
wonderful. Well, that's great to hear because I know that, this CDLs are in such short supply
Yeah.
across the board. So anything we can be doing to home grow that opportunity. And then the 150 drivers on leave, in addition to the 667 active drivers, can you explain to me the way the contract works in terms of are those 150 drivers on leave, are they getting paid? Are they not getting paid but accruing seniority? What's their relationship to the...
That's a good question. So they're not getting paid, and in terms of seniority, they stop accruing seniority after a year.
After a year on leave? Got it.
So there are a variety of types of leave. It depends on, I think there were approximately 14 types of leave when I last looked. For some types of leave, they do accumulate seniority. That would be union business leave or military leave. For those, they will continue accruing seniority. For all other types of leave, they will stop accruing seniority, which they had previously, but now they no longer accrue seniority while on those types of leave. Some leaves are paid. For example, if you were on a parental leave, that would be paid. If you were on a disability leave, there would be some level of that leave would be covered by disability insurance. There are types of leave related to discipline, depending on the conduct that led to that. It might be paid or unpaid depending on the particular circumstances of that situation. Often it is unpaid leave. There are emergency leaves, which is now limited, which it was not before. There is personal leave, which is unpaid. So there are a huge variety of them. One of the things we're working on is to try to make the workforce more predictable so that the district and the employer has a better sense of how many drivers will be available each day, and getting a handle on, frankly, years of having many different types of leaves. We're now reining that in some to work on getting down to something that is more approximating, for example, what the city employees would have available to them. And over time, we anticipate that continuing to improve.
And drivers' paychecks, they're not split over 12 years, that 12 months, I mean, they just get them across the school year period. If you just go ahead.
So drivers are paid each week they work, and then while they're on school vacation or over the summer, they can apply for and receive unemployment benefits. And then right now, especially though, there are tremendous opportunities to work throughout the summer, and we also seek a lot of volunteer drivers through all of the vacations. If somebody wants to work, there is work to do.
Got it. And I guess my one further question on this is just, I have 2, sorry. One is just, what is this charter rate? I have the table here.
That's a good question. The charter rate is what the drivers get paid for doing athletic or field trip runs.
I see. So they get paid less for doing that than for doing the morning runs.
Yes.
Got it. Has that proved difficult in terms of finding drivers to do field trip runs in that case?
I think that may be a factor. I also think there's a couple of different factors with athletics and field trips. We have BPS schools with 125 schools with one set of bell times, and one set of bell times. We have our charter schools with one set of bell times and our out-of-district special education schools with one set of bell times. So the peak times, even if a lot of drivers had the opportunity, we struggle at our peak times when most of our high schools and middle schools are letting out to cover those runs, because if BPS schools are not getting out at that time, we have our charters and our out-of-district special education schools that are getting out at that time. So to combat that, really hiring more drivers into the workforce so that we have a complement of standby drivers that are available. And how that works is that our standby drivers will get paid at their standby rate. And also when they're picking up charter runs, they're also getting that charter runs as well. So once we have standbys available, it really improves like picking up charters across the operation.
Got it. And then I think my last question for you is just speaking to that contract that you put out on the 9th, just obviously, you know, with this CBA that's before us, which contains some significant workforce reforms, you know, you guys have made a bunch of significant progress pieces, but those are all going to now be locked in. And we expect them to be constant regardless of who we're contracting with, as you explained earlier. So I'm sort of curious, holding those things about the workforce constant, what are the things about the structure of a 5-year contract that we hope to have be different from the contract structure we're locked into now, in terms of, like, you know, fundamentally what the council cares about, which is on-time performance?
That's a good question, and I'm going to share some pieces. But then I'll have Jackie jump in if I miss anything. So in terms of just like contract structure, so the current contract, we have an RFP that's changing to an IFB. In terms of the structure, the current contract is a pass-through contract, and the vendor gets a guaranteed management fee of $3 million. The problem with that is if the contractor performs well, they get the $3 million. If they do not perform well, they get the $3 million. So there's no incentive, right, for the contractor to improve on performance or hold their staff accountable for performance. We have done a lot of work internally in transportation with monthly performance reviews, et cetera, with the current contractor to improve performance across the operation. However, that's not how we want our contract to operate in the future. Switching to the structure of the IFB, the IFB that we put out, it's no longer a pass-through. All of the cost is not passed through, right? There are also incentives for the contractor when they're hitting the KPI targets. There's incentives for the contractor. However, when the contractor is not hitting the incentive targets laid out in the IFB, right? Financially, there's like financial accountability drew into the contract where they're going to be hit financially if they're not hitting the KPIs laid out in the contract. Sorry.
So I'm just going to piggyback on that because I think that laid out a lot of it. But one of the major ways to think about the difference between the current vendor contract and the future one that we are putting out to bid right now is that the current contract was very much de-risked from the vendor perspective to attract vendors at all to the last round of bidding. And what that looked like is that essentially all costs related to the contract passed directly through to BPS. There was a small incentive bonus that was available. It's $1 million. It's not nothing. But damages were assessed against that. So that was exhausted very early on in the contract. And there really were no performance-based incentives or consequences for poor performance for most of the contract, the life of that contract. In the new contract that we are putting, or the new IFP that's been put out, there are 5 major changes. One of the big changes is that transportation has changed dramatically over the past 10 years in Boston, and the new contract is updated, the new bid is updated to reflect that scope change. It's really a year-round operation now. Schools operate year-round today. If it's not through a regular programming, it's through summer or vacation program. Our out-of-district special education students operate year-round. So that is a big change in the contract, and what we expect for any contractor coming in is that they staff up to a level that can support that work. Another big change is that both damages and incentives, there are fewer of them, but they are intended to be more consequential, and they are also scaled and titrated to create the opportunity to achieve performance incentives and encourage the next level of performance, that a vendor reach for it. If a level of performance would take so much effort to achieve the bonus, most vendors won't go after it because it costs too much to go after it. So we've tried to appropriately titrate performance incentives to encourage vendors to seek to reach the next level. There are damages also worked into the contract, and they're intended to really focus on what impacts our students' experience on the ground and the experience of our families and our schools. Another big shift is shifting liability writ large for poor performance over to the vendor, but also to create opportunities for the vendor to gain additional benefits from the contract by performing well. And a really kind of straightforward example of that is if you pay the utility bills for a building you run, then you have an incentive to manage that building better so that you save money. That's the same type of incentives we're trying to build into the contract throughout, not just for utilities, but through a lot of different areas. And then also obviously including in the contract a shift to electric vehicles.
Got it. No, I think that's great. And, you know, I think Del knows I've been sort of frustrated by our continuous one-year extension of a contract that I think we've acknowledged for a long time is not that well suited to these purposes. But it's also good to know that you guys have managed to, you know, reach an agreement that sort of like provides a baseline and a set of protections and a kind of predictable like world for the driver workforce, right? So that we can think about how we drive performance in the contract without folks feeling like they won't be protected in those ways. I appreciate the complexity of what you're trying to do, and it's definitely very important to all of us, not least because it's 10% of the city's budget, but also because, as we know, no learning happens if the kid doesn't get to school, no matter how good what's going on in the classroom is. I want to just briefly allow Jim Williamson to speak to the other pair of dockets here. I intentionally we went and focused counselor questions on the BPS one because the Teamster dockets are for 3 employees, and they follow the exact pattern of a number of other dockets that we've discussed ad nauseum here in the chamber. So that's why, you know, we're just having Jim speak to them briefly, but I did want Jim for it to be on the record. So I was hoping you could speak a little bit to the Teamster question. And then once you do that, I'll just do a quick check-in if counselors have any follow-up questions for Jim on that, or if something hit you in the head and you want to ask one more question to BPS. So.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, before we move on
Oh,
from
yeah.
this topic, I just want to point out that, you know, I know we had mentioned that there were no like performance incentives, opportunities in the current contract, but we did get a great, I just want to acknowledge the cooperation that we have had with Transdev's leadership team throughout the whole bargaining process, and really, especially the latest iteration of their leadership team locally has been great to deal with. We think we had a strong partnership with them. And we were happy to work with them in getting this deal, which, as I pointed out earlier, we think is a fair deal both for Transdev's drivers and for the city of Boston. So I just wanted to acknowledge that before we move on.
I appreciate that acknowledgement, Jeremiah. And yeah, and I think there's, you can have a great partner, and if the structure of the contractual relationship doesn't sort of help everybody succeed together in certain directions, then like, you know, their hands are tied as well, right? Nobody, especially on the private business side, like they've got to justify the actions they're taking. So I hope that we're able to keep working on things that sort of drive everybody more in the right direction. Yeah.
Just to jump in on what Jeremiah just said, I mean, I've been in transportation in a different role on our customer service team, and coming into the director position and bringing and kind of like reorganizing our team and Jackie and a few other folks coming in on the leadership team. The work with Transdev, there's been significant improvement and cooperation and collaboration in that space. But as you outlined, Counselor, like The collaboration is great, the work, we've seen improvement, but the structure of the contract just needed to change, right? And we needed to get a different approach to the work, right? Instead of like a kind of like a hand-holding approach, but like, I no longer have to hold your hand because you know that like the boundaries within the contract, you're not going to be reimbursed for everything. So now you have to manage your employees accordingly.
Thank you. Jim, do you want to speak briefly to these other dockets?
Sure, thank you, Council. As you said, it follows a similar pattern that has been put before the Council before. It's a very small union, some engineers and maintenance mechanics that work in property management. It's an agreement that covers a 3-year term, July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2023, and has an estimated cost of just over $23,000 over the 3 years. It includes city policies, incorporating them into the contract, the Juneteenth holiday, and the current military leave benefits were added to the contract. The terms of the wage increases, general wage increases, are 2% in October 2020, 1.5% in 2021, and another 2% in October 2022, and a one-time lump sum payment of $1,000 per member.
Great, thank you. And I'll just note for councilors that, again, all these terms, the 1.52 was a pattern that was set about 1.5 years ago and has kind of held for most of the contracts in this period. And we've seen the lump sum related to COVID before, and then Juneteenth, even though the city gave that, has to be formalized in the agreement. And then I think actually we had the updated military leave policy had been attached to the last one of these we discussed. So we did ask, and you guys sent over the new military leave policy, which is just kind of, I think it's a federal update that we were complying with. And so then, and we also got the red line from you guys on that before. So I just wanted to register all those things have come through the committee in the past. I'll just go now to my colleagues one more time in case they do have any questions on that. And then also or on anything, and then we'll wrap up. Councilor Flynn, President Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, thank you to the BPS team. And Jim, thank you for adding, putting in that language about military leave. I read through it, and it was very helpful, so thank you for doing that. So one question is going back from the previous discussion. Let me see. So Transdev, how much actually does the City of Boston pay them each year for this?
Transdev receives a $3 million management fee. The contract is over $100 million. The majority of that contract goes to employee wages.
Okay. Thank you. My final question, and maybe I'm not sure who can answer it, but one thing I was concerned with, and I failed to ask it at the beginning, is athletics, BPS athletics, certainly very important. After-school activities also very important. But looking at BPS athletics, many of the teams lack the necessary school bus transportation to some of their games. And I've heard from parents in athletes, really, in student athletes, that they've missed games over the years because they just had no transportation to go to their baseball game, to go to their football game, to go to their basketball game, both boys and girls. Do we track how many times those mix-ups take place?
Yes, we do. Our athletics department tracks that information. I don't have the information with me, but I know that our athletics department tracks that information.
But there should be, with this year though, we have that covered in terms of we know exactly that we need transportation for student athletes to go to their baseball games, their basketball games, football games. We know that they need rides there and rides back, but there'll be no mix-ups this year. Is that correct?
I will not say that there won't be any mix-ups this year. In terms of coverage, that's improved from where we were last year. However, it's based on drivers' attendance on any given day. Also, in terms of home-to-school transportation, our athletic transportation falls right into that time frame of like peak time during that 1:30 to 4 o'clock time when it's like peak school dismissals as well. And due to driver attendance on any given day, it kind of like tells which routes that we can cover and which routes we cannot cover for athletics.
But I don't want some student athlete, the entire team, to miss a game because a bus driver didn't show up. That's, to me, that's unacceptable. If we don't have the money for it, let's work on getting the money. But I want to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. Jim, are we providing enough money so that doesn't happen in the future?
I believe we're fully funding the contract requirements. I'll let Del
Yeah,
speak.
I can jump in.
Okay.
I think I can jump in here. I don't think money is not the only issue, and
Okay.
our team is actively working on pulling any lever that we can pull. Something that I just won't comment to on this table because it's going to be ongoing conversations with our unions surrounding kind of just like pushing the athletic work forward to make sure that all of our students are covered going forward.
Well, could I ask, maybe through the chair, but could this body receive an update if there is a game or a practice that the school bus didn't arrive and that these student athletes weren't able to participate in their game or practice? I just really don't expect that there will be any hiccups this year. I think it's too critical for our students to not to provide this transportation. But if there is a case that one team is left stranded basically at their school because a bus doesn't arrive, could you notify the city council or notify the chair? Because that would for me, that would be a very important piece of information to know.
Yes, we would be able to send that information.
Okay.
President Flynn, I do just want to point out that this has been an area of priority for our athletic department, and we've been working closely with them to minimize any types of disruptions. In addition to Deputy Superintendent Sam DePine has been overseeing many meetings with us and Athletic Director Avery Esdale. So this is kind of an area of priority that we are trying to improve on. So while we can't guarantee no hiccups, we are working to minimize any types of disruptions.
Well,
And just to flag, like Jeremiah said, this was one of the first conversation I had with now Superintendent Skipper of the importance of like making sure that all of our athletic transportation is covered. So it is ongoing work within not only our department in collaboration with Transdev and also our athletic department.
yeah, this is a top priority for me also. I appreciate that you're also taking it, that you're also making it a top priority. I have a child in the BPS system. But I want to make sure every child has an opportunity if they participate in after-school activities, whether it's music or dance or theater, and they have to be transported somewhere, or athletics, that if they have to be transported there, that is part of the process. the education of our children happen in the classroom, but the education of our children also happen outside of the classroom. And student athletes, they teach you leadership, they teach you competition, they teach you hard work, discipline, all skills that you need in life. After school programs, they're learning about music, they're learning about art and culture and other subjects that are also critical. So I won't continue talking about it, but that's a really important issue for me and this body. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Flynn. Councilor Mejia?
Yes, thank you. Del, can you give me the number again in terms of the amount, the dollar amount that goes to the bus contract? What is it?
$3 million in management fee.
$3 million
Yes.
in management fees.
Yep.
And what is the total? I think you said something about a 100 and
It's $100 million, but the majority of that $100 million goes to wages and benefits for employees.
so how's that different than the $3 million?
That's a good question. So the $3 million is the management fee for Transdev, the company, and the $100 million is split up across wages, fringe benefits, health benefits, workers' comp insurance, IT. There's like different categories that because it's a pass-through contract, right? All of anything that any of Transdev expenses, it's passed through to BPS, and we reimburse them for wages, benefits, and anything on the ground, and that's to the tune of that $100 million. And if it goes over, we kind of like figure out how to reimburse them as well.
So is it fair to say that it's a total of $103 million that goes towards transporting our kids?
It's more.
Is it more?
So the entire budget is more. It's split up between.
Let's hear. I want to know
yeah.
all the numbers, please.
Yeah. So it's split up between Transdev, the contractor, and internal transportation.
Okay.
So Transdev, the contractor, is to that tune of $100 million. Internally in transportation, we have wages for transportation staff. We have, and that also includes the 500 bus monitors that we oversee. There's homeless DCF transportation that sits on the transportation budget line. There's our customer service. There's like different buckets to the budget. I can share, we don't have our budget information for this year, but I can share some actuals for last year that shares how the budget is split out and like where we're spending across not only the Transdev operation, but also the internal transportation operation.
Right. I guess what happens with families when they hear numbers like this is like if you break down that number and you do it per cost per child, and then you look at how many times a child was left waiting for a bus, that's when people start really thinking about their return on investment. And there has to be, and I'm going back to what I started earlier, in terms of this level of accountability, because it just doesn't feel like there's a sense, I know you all are working really hard, but I just don't know if there's a sense of urgency in understanding that we have a responsibility to deliver on these services. And $103 million is a lot. And that's just for this particular contract. And then when you look at the return on that investment, it's hard for families to say, oh, okay, this is working out. So I just think that as we continue to have these conversations, it's going to be really important for us to kind of do a deeper dive and see dollar for dollar what that return on investment looks like, because it is a lot of money that we're pouring into these services. And while there is some improvement, it doesn't still feel like it is really landing
Yeah, and just wanted to flag, even like when we're looking at like wages and like benefits just across the board, the $3 million that goes to Transdev, the contractor, when we cut that out, and we have like $97 million. Of that $97 million, approximately $70 million is attributed to wages and benefits for employees.
For the bus, when you say employees, you're talking about the
Bus drivers.
The bus drivers.
Yep, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still struggling with the dollar for dollar return on the investment piece of it. Yeah, I think, you know, when situations like this happen and we're in the beginning of school year and there's so many phone calls and emails coming to us, these conversations have a whole different meaning, right? Because we're being accountable to passing, to, you know, agreeing to support budgets, and then we are left with having to answer that for our families. So I'm just curious as who can speak to that and what information I can share with our constituents.
Information on...
About the return on the investment. Like, because in their mind, right, $103 million is a lot that is being allocated to transport our students to and from. So it'd be helpful to hear what adjustments are going to be made in the immediate to address some of the concerns that we've been hearing.
So we had the 6 reforms that we got through contract negotiations, and we've implemented, and it's going to be ongoing work with the team it's just going to be ongoing day-to-day work on the ground with the team to continue. We've started seeing improvements, but we're not where we need to be, and the team is going to continue that. And another bucket is we have to get more drivers on the ground. Like, we have to hire more drivers. And like I said, the team, like, we've worked in partnership with Transdev to implement a CDL training program to get more drivers. On the bus monitor side, in collaboration with folks at the city and internally at BPS, incoming Superintendent Skipper and Acting Superintendent Eccleston, we really got to a space where we got some, not only reforms in the bus tentative agreement with the bus monitor union, but to see some wage increases for our bus monitors as well. I also launched a reorg and restructure of that entire department a couple months ago, and put in some key positions where we would like to see some changes, like ongoing trainings for our bus monitors, implemented an assistant director role in there that works in collaboration with special ed to understand our students' needs and how to make sure that our monitors are supporting our students but based on their needs. So we had 2 BCBA roles that were implemented on the ground to support our monitors, to support schools with ongoing monitor training. So this work, it doesn't stop here, right? In order for us to dismantle kind of like the ongoing issues that we've seen year over year, it's work that we have to continue doing day to day, and like we're seeing incremental improvements, but making sure that our staff continues to be dedicated to this work. We're also looking at KPIs and all of that good stuff to ensure that we're seeing improvements, and in areas where we're not seeing improvements, we're getting back to the table as a team and discussing ways that we need to improve and what we need to do for our families going forward. Because our students deserve the best, right? And we're here to provide them with the best. And I can assure you that the transportation staff, from the routing team to our leadership team to our bus monitors, they're dedicated to making sure that we see improvement across the operation. And I'm like happy to continue like engaging on these discussions. I would love for you to also come into our department to see the work that our team is doing.
You sure you want me to go there? I would be more than happy to. I think it, you know, I really do appreciate that invite. And I would like to bring maybe a group of parents with me so that they can see hands-on the work that happens, because what I hear a lot is that, like, they don't think that we care.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, yes, let's set that up. Chantal will help us make that happen, so that I can come by and get a real good hands-on view, which is what the fire department did last week. They brought me in so I can almost die trying to put out a fire. So I will go there and do that. And then the last thing that I just wanted to ask, is there a public portal or accountability that really measures and keeps track of this, like publicly? Like, I want to have access to something that I can look into and see how many buses were delayed, how many students were left behind. Is there that level of accountability that you're tracking?
Yep, so our team tracks a number of different KPIs. So,
And can you tell us what KPIs are, just so for those who are listening in?
Yes, for sure. Key performance indicators, which just like let us know how we're performing across each department within transportation, and also on through the Transdev operation. The KPIs, key performance indicators, are tracked through monthly performance reviews. Some of the KPIs that we track like daily. So we have complaints that come in to our department through our Fresh Desk system. We can track the turnaround time in which our team is responding to parents and families in schools. We have our on-time performance data that we track every day. We have any missed trips. Our team is like tracking that information daily and sharing it amongst our team to make sure that we're looking for ways to improve.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. That's all, Chair. And Chantal will hook us up with a time for us to do a tour.
Yeah, I think that would be great. In my experience, just going out to community events, talking to families on the ground, and better explaining the transportation operation, and like we've gotten suggestions, like I've gotten a lot of suggestions from families, and sharing what we do every day and just bringing them into the department to see what we do every day. Families are always, I've never had a family leave, like even if they came in upset and they're still upset about their particular student incident or issue, they've always left like, okay, I fully understand now and I can better navigate the system. And they've always left feeling supported. So I'm always happy and open to have that conversation, just not only at transportation, but any community events, et cetera, with our families in the city.
Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Councillor Mejia. And in the category of defining acronyms, I wondered if you guys could just define the, I forget which one it was you used. Instead of an RFP, you just put out a...
And information for bid.
Yes, information for bid. And
yeah.
Can you just speak a little bit to what makes the IFB different from the RFP?
I am not gonna, I think that Jackie should do it. Okay. I just don't want to butcher.
Jackie.
Dell would definitely not butcher this, but I am happy to support on this. So IFB is different than an RFP. An IFB requires us to do essentially 2 levels of assessment when we review bids that come in. The first level of assessment that we will do is reviewing each one and confirming whether or not it is responsible and responsive, so that we think that the contractor is able to competently provide the services, responsive, that they have addressed all of the elements that we are concerned about in the bid that we've put out. After a vendor has passed that level of review, all the vendors who pass that level, then we will look at the lowest price among them. And we are required by law to put this out as an IFB for transportation services, and we have assessed that with the state from a procurement perspective. Previously, it was an RFP, which gives more flexibility to look at different vendor compilations of services that they may want to be providing. So what different package of options essentially can each vendor bring and at what price? And you have more flexibility to consider that package of options in an RFP than you do in an IFB, where the way that it's assessed is level 1, are they responsible and responsive? Level 2, what is the price? But every vendor must be assessed as responsible and responsive before they can even be considered for price.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a concern There are a number of large contracts in the city world in which competitiveness of the pool of petite people who might even bid on a thing is a challenge, and obviously then a challenge from a budget perspective. And this strikes me as an area where such a challenge might exist, and especially because with the RFP model, at least, you could have some smaller actor who says, oh, well, here's my creative solution, or I'm going to band together with people or whatever. So just how are we thinking about that?
Yep. So we've been working on this project for a little over a year because once we had confirmation that we would have to do it as an IFB from legal, we worked with a consultant specifically focused on transportation as their area of expertise. And one of the main things that we were working on was figuring out the right way to structure the criteria for any bidder to make sure that whoever comes in is ready to address the level of complexity of the program that we have, that they are ready to fully engage in a responsible and respectful way with the unionized workforces that we have, that they are ready for the technological and data complexities that we deal with for the size of our operation, which is different than in a lot of smaller operations, and to make sure that they're ready for a fleet of our size and to maintain that, which is approximately 739 buses. And when we set the criteria for who would be allowed to even put in a bid, what we were looking for is making sure that we were hitting really high quality marks of who would be able to bid at all. After that, we were really careful about laying out exactly what we needed in the IFB to make sure that anyone who bids really knows that we need to hit the mark on a whole host of criteria. So when anyone looks at the bid documents, it's about a 70-page document. We don't want to make it too long because we want to make sure people are very thoughtful about it, but it is long because it is complicated. And we want a bidder who is ready to take on that challenge and be a partner with us in succeeding at that.
Great. And would you share that document with the committee, the IFB? That'd be great.
Yes.
The van drivers that we turn to in as sort of an auxiliary force for the Orange Line shutdown and all, have we thought about vans at all as a way of maybe supplementing on the athletic transportation side or some of these other challenges we face? And is that something that's reflected in this IFB is sort of what I was thinking about?
There are a number of elements of the collective bargaining agreement with the drivers union that structure how athletic transportation and special education athletic transportation and field trip transportation, which we call charter work, how that work is made available. We have a working group that is specifically looking at creative ways to approach the charter work, but it will require partnering with the union and thinking through new ways and bargaining with them how that could look in the near term. Great.
Okay, well, I think we have a number of information requests that councilors have lodged, so we'll get those over to you formally, and we'd love to get some of that. This is obviously a topic of great interest to the council because it matters a lot to our constituents. But thank you for all of the detail on the collective bargaining agreement today, and thank you to my colleagues, Councilor Mejia, Murphy, and Flynn, for being here. Did you all have anything else you wanted to say before I gavel us out?
No. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Great.
Chair.
Thank you so much. With that, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.